Hello, everyone, and welcome to a very special interview episode here from the
Geek
Buddies!
Hey!
And as joining us today, fresh off the incredible success of Cinderella here, the #1 streaming movie in America, the #1 streaming movie in Prime Video, 5.6 billion views on TikTok. I'm an old man, I can't say that right. The #1 soundtrack album on iTunes, and 1.1 million U.S. households watched Cinderella in 4 days. She is the screenwriter, producer, director, and actress, Kay Cannon. Kay, how are you?
Hi, guys.
Welcome to the show.
It's so crazy when you say those numbers because it's already like 6-point-something billion now on TikTok, like
Wow.
the billion with a B. And then that 1.1 number is not accurate at all. They only go off of 3 million households. So,
okay.
So, but that I just learned that today, but it's still, it's interesting. It's like that's what comes out, but it's exciting to be like, well, there's a lot more than the 1.1, because it's worldwide.
I'm going to talk to the person who posted it. Hold on. Oh, it's Kay Cannon. Oh, my boss.
Yeah, man. I know. I did that.
Okay,
I just like whatever somebody puts up. I'm like, I guess that's what it is. All right.
Let's put it up. But no, this is incredible time for you. I mean, this film is getting so much conversation, so much talk on social media. It's been so successful with fans, with audiences, and as we said, on these social media platforms as well. And it's out now on Amazon Prime for you all to enjoy a brand new take on Cinderella, directed for the first time by a woman, and having her perspective. Talk to me about this process for you. With I've read a number of interviews that it was James Corden bringing you in and kind of talking to you about it. What was the moment that you knew this project you wanted to do, that you said, like, you cannot hide your poker face? What was the moment, though? What was the sentence or the scene or the beat that was spoken in the conversation you knew, okay, Kay Cannon can do this?
Well, the moment for me was when I realized that what James was offering was I was going to be able to write the Cinderella story, a story that I didn't connect to as a kid. Like I connected to her being like dirty because I was like a little dirtbag growing up, and like I connected to the underdog part of it. But even her being blue-eyed and blonde-haired, and like I never thought like the notion that someone would come in and save me was not something I connected to. And I thought the other characters that were women were very mean. So so when James was like, oh, we could retell the story using contemporary songs. First, I liked the contemporary song element to it. I thought that was really fun. But then this idea of like, oh, I could modernize it and rewrite it for my younger self. That was like, I was like, yes, I want to do this. And so they had interviewed other writers too. So like in the room, I was like, I want to do this. And it's like, well, no, we're interviewing other people. Yes, I know. I want to do this. I'm just lucky that they, chose me.
Mm-hmm. Mike?
I'm curious, like off of that, so you have that notion, oh, I can rewrite Cinderella. I can make this a story that I want for my younger self. But like, how quickly I want her to be making the dress instead of just being given the dress, or I'm gonna treat I'm gonna have like the fabulous G instead of the fairy godmother, like, or I'm going to let the brother have this sort of very forward-thinking sister. Like, obviously, I know they didn't all come at once, but like, what was the process of like, okay, I get to retell this story, but then to that, well, here's how I want to retell that story.
Well, I pitched in the meeting that I thought she should be a designer of her own, and that was like, and I know for a lot of writers it's like, well, that was your first thought and really that's what you went with. And it's like, yeah, because it felt like all organic to the story. I don't want and still don't want people to feel like I have disdain for the story. Like, there's a reason it's so popular. There's a reason why it's retold. There's a reason why millions of, like, especially little girls love it so much. And I wanted to preserve all those things that they love, and the ball and getting dressed up and the magic of it all. Like, that was all things I wanted to keep. So it felt like, oh, the ball, like instead of her going to find love, it was, it was to network. Like that seemed like, and it sort of seemed like organic. The dress is so important, and I wanted to preserve the dress. So it just seemed organic to be like, oh, let her have designed the dress, let her have, and it's a dress that it's like so forward thinking on her part that she doesn't even know how to make it. So it seems like an impossible thing. And then the Fab G comes in and he, like makes it become the impossible become possible. And then the Fab G, it was like at every turn, like structurally, I really didn't change the story that much, except for the fact that I had the Prince and Cinderella. I had finished their story and then had these, like, they're not the last scene, right? Like I kept it going, and that was intentional because I wanted it to be more than just Cinderella's story. I wanted it to be everybody around her story. So like at every point when I got to the fairy godmother sequence, I was like, okay, how can I make this different? I can't compete against the other wonderful actresses who have done this movie before. So, done this telling before. So, okay, I kind of went from, I need to make it a man, to very quickly, I need it to be a gay man, to very quickly being, I need it to be Billy Porter. Like,
that makes sense.
It was like who, and I knew it had to be somebody who sang and, who was like this amazing performer and who felt like magic, and Billy is magic to me. And so, and then the Gwen thing was kind of a slow burn. Like I'd always wanted to have, I wrote like her as a young Elizabeth Warren or like a young Hillary Clinton. And, I started writing it in 2017. So it's fresh off of, the Trump taking office. And I was just like, just frustrated. I was just frustrated that I felt like there was so clearly that the person who should have been in charge. And so when I went and pitched to Sony, I like had pictures of cast who I had in mind or whatever. And I just took a young picture of Hillary Clinton. I was like, I didn't know who was going to play that part yet. And then it just sort of like the game sort of built of just like every time she tried to interject a policy she was thinking about, or, that she was, I wanted to make the patriarchy or the royal family. I wanted their issue to be gender based as opposed to race based. Yeah.
Shout out to Tallulah Grieve, who did a fantastic job with Princess Gwen.
Yeah, totally.
Well. Shannon, you have the questions about the songs.
Yeah, so along with being incredibly funny, you have a killer soundtrack in this
Thank
movie.
you.
And as you were writing it, I mean, are these some of your favorite mixtape songs from when you were growing up? Was it collaborative? And I guess as you were doing drafts, were there songs that were in it that didn't end up being in it?
Oh, all of that. Like, I have an amazing team, a music team, both at Sony and then like our producers, and like Camila was a big part of it. And I basically wrote in placeholder songs throughout the draft because the songs were dialogue on the page, right? So I had to it's not like Pitch Perfect where they were just like performing a song in front of an audience. Like this had to make sense. So like Somebody to Love, Rhythm Nation, and You Gotta Be were songs I had pretty close to the beginning. Or Somebody to Love was something James Corden pitched in that meeting. And so we kept that. But then like the Am I Wrong spot and the finale, that was like, I mean, it was a whole thing. Like I did so many demos of different songs and
wow.
And like it was just such a puzzle, like figuring out the songs. I was actually in a Barry's when I heard Rhythm Nation, and I was like, that could be the song to start the movie. I'd be in the supermarket, I'd be like, a car would drive by, and I would just be like, what? And then when the movie got greenlit, and I actually had a music team, behind me, I had my music board that had all the spots that of the music spots, whatever. I knew where the originals were going to be. And those were like, I did just like placeholder lyrics in the script. And then Camila went off and Scott Harris went off and wrote Million to One. And then Adina and Laura wrote Dream Girl. But like, there was like 4 spots that had to be figured out, including the finale and the Am I Wrong spot. And I had a prize bucket for the music team. Like I brought out a prize bucket and it was like full of like old Halloween candy that I wanted to get rid of. And there was like a $20 bill wrapped around a Twizzler and there was like lip gloss and stuff. And I was like, okay, if we can, like whoever pitches a song that gets through me, that makes sense to the story, that makes sense to what I want to do. Like, because it was all like crafted. It was all designed. Like, the arrangements are, Keith Harrison and I did the arrangements because it's like in script, I was very, very specific. Like, and am I wrong? I'm all of that scripted of just like who's singing what and where they are and stuff. And so a couple people got to pick out of the prize box. There was like grown adults like losing their minds. I mean, I had pitched Let's Get Loud, so I got to pick out of it. But the finale was like 11th hour.
and you knew exactly what to pick as well. So you got that $20 Twizzler, right?
No, you know what? I think somebody did pick that, but that bucket is still in the music studio. It's like still in the studio.
Maybe don't eat that Twizzler. Maybe don't eat that
Twizzler. They stay good forever.
They're good. They're fine. It's fine. It's fine.
Well, you mentioned Camilla Cabello, and this is the entry point for me. As the son of Latino immigrants, seeing a woman who's come over at a young age, and then kind of staked her own claim as a young artist, left a group to go solo. There's a lot of similarities to Cinderella's story in this movie, to Camilla's stories in this movie. When you were having these conversations, did you sense, I know that in some of the interviews you've mentioned that you proposed with a glass slipper, but did you sense that she was connecting to this character on a visceral level as related to her own life as well? Yeah,
right away. I mean, that was one of the things that was probably the primary reason, a very closely followed behind that. I thought she was a natural and I felt like she would be great at this. But I mean, like what she did, John, and what she represents, I just feel like she is Cinderella. And it's a nice thing at the premiere, she said the same thing about me. And that she felt like I was like Cinderella. Like, I think I think that's what made us such a great match, because why there was so much trust there right away, because we were both like going for something bigger than what we'd ever done before, or, maybe outside of our comfort zones. And there was it was like a lot at stake. It was, like when you read off those numbers, it really fills our hearts with joy, because that means it's resonating with people, and people are finding it and they're liking it and they're enjoying it and they're watching it, and that doesn't go without, like, we're feeling it. And we're, the two of us are like collectively like, phew, but she, like, her family came to this country with nothing.
Yeah.
And then she's like, she's made some big decisions for herself. With backlash, with like massive backlash.
Yes.
And yet she's persevered, and she's, staked her claim as an artist that's like here to stay, I think.
That's what I felt when I was watching the movie. I was like, am I watching Camilla Cabello? Am I watching Cinderella? It seemed like the similarities of the journeys they've both been on in their lives, and the amount of no's that they've heard, or the amount of you can't do that, or the amount of, you're really taking a chance. I don't think anyone's gonna, go for what you're doing. You might fall on your face. You sense that there's maybe some reality that's brought through the character, and I think that was powerful to see in her performance. Just a real quick follow-up. Did you have any hesitation or any concern, because she'd never acted in a theatrical film before as the lead in this thing? She'd done her music videos, she'd done other things as a performer, but leading a film like this, especially an adaptation like this, was there any hesitation, or when you met her, did you sense, okay, she can handle it?
Yeah, I didn't have any hesitation. I mean, before meeting, I was a little bit like, I don't know, can she do this? But and I think she was thinking probably the same thing as of me too, but as soon as I am talking to her, like, she's very thoughtful, she's super smart, and her questions about the material were really smart. She works really hard. I mean, she is that can sometimes just like go over people's heads. Oh, she works hard, big deal, whatever. But it's no, really. Like she, like, to be number one on that call sheet that like trickles down, and everybody on the film worked so incredibly hard. But she, you know, like she just led, like she led with that hard work ethic. So I wasn't really nervous. But very quickly, a nice story is that we did a chemistry test with her and different princes. And that was the first time we were seeing, like I had workshopped with them all, but that was the first time that like the studio was going to see Camila in action, you know?
Yeah.
And she was like sick to her stomach about it. But you know, we filmed the scenes work, like it's great. And after we were done, like she came up to me and she's like, I can do this, right? You know, like, and I was like, yeah, you can do it. You can do it. It's pretty great, actually. Awesome. How, you know, that, and we both were like, okay. Like we're gonna do this.
Well, so speaking of that, and just speaking of the dynamic in the relationship, like I was just watching the Movies That Made Us on Netflix, and I watched the Pretty Woman one, and they make a really big deal out of Gary Marshall kind of stepping into this role as a director, coming from sort of comedy, sitcom chops, and how he really he went out of his way to just have fun on set and joke around. And as I was watching this movie and knowing you personally, just everybody looked like they were having so much fun. Like there was just a joy to the acting. And so I was wondering, like, Kay Cannon as director, what do you take from your improv background? What do you take from your comedy background that informs your directing that seems to have led to everyone having really relaxed, really natural performances?
It was, even though we shot it during the pandemic, we did have a lot of joy. It was a lot of hard work, but we have a lot of joy. Look, my directing philosophy is best idea wins, and I don't care where it comes from. And so that's a very, it goes back to like being an improviser and improv roots and yes-anding anyone's idea and just having that notion of play and yes-anding. And when you have that, and I try to make everyone feel that way. So it's like, it's not just the cast, it's the crew as well. I mean, it's everybody. I want us to have perspective all the time too. Like at the beginning of every day, I would just shout jokes and songs before every first take. And they would shout it back to me to remind us that it is, we're trying to spread joy. We're not, and there's a lot of really hard things happening in the world and in our life. Like, sometimes we just felt like the world was figuratively and literally on fire. And so it was about playfulness and I'm very honest with people, and I want them to be very honest with me. And when you feel that, people just feel a trust and a comfort there. I also give my actors fun runs, which is as soon as we get what's on the page, I also have like a ton of alt jokes that I throw at them. And then they would pitch some alt jokes as well. As soon as I know I have it, I give the actors what I call fun runs, which is they can do literally anything they want. And so what that did was I didn't use a ton of stuff from their fun runs, but what it does is it gives them like, oh, she got it. And so it makes their shoulders go down. It makes them feel like they're doing a good job, and then I started to give my DP a fun run, and he liked it too. And that I would use like a lot of, because he was always finding really cool new stuff. So I think that's what, it's been exciting because the cast really felt the joy. And then could you imagine if it had been the opposite, where I was just like yelling at them and it was miserable? And we're just trying to we're trying to do it's a movie for families. It's a movie for kids. like kids would feel that, right? Like,
hey, Prince Charming, get over here.
And I feel like somebody sent me a message that was like, they've never seen Pierce Brosnan more like fun and so it seemed like he had the time of his life. And I feel like, here's a guy who's, he's Bond, he's James Bond. And I think it shows he did have a lot of fun. I think that he was probably, he's so awesome. Like he's my fellow Irish friend, and we give each other Irish hugs. And he'd be like, "Mo, dear Kay, it's so wonderful." Just like game for anything. And just a just a joy. I love
mean, for me, by the end of the movie, I definitely wanted. I'm like, all right, where's the streaming series of Pierce Brosnan and Minnie Driver?
Yes,
right.
Like
me
what
too.
takes place after this movie? So like going in, like you were able to do your take on Cinderella, but you didn't just change Cinderella. You got to give other characters, like the prince's parents, like the prince, you got to give people some complexity and some depth that hadn't really been there before, especially with the stepmother and the stepsisters, characters that have traditionally kind of been portrayed a little one note. So like going in, is that what you knew you wanted to do, or did it sort of just kind of start with Cinderella and just kind of bleed down?
I did know when I was breaking the story, that is something that was important to me that I wanted to do, especially with the stepmother. I kind of felt like there was no reason to do the story if you weren't going to change the stepmother, like, or not change her in as much as give her backstory and give her a reason for why she acts or what her worldview is, and that it's like tough love. And I didn't have her the stepmother doesn't put Cinderella down in the basement. Cinderella puts herself down in the basement and puts her 10,000 hours in. And then we are the first Cinderella telling that has the stepmother and Cinderella make up at the end. That's never happened before in any retelling. And that was like to me, I was like, that's why we should do this, because I wanted to tell this multi-generational story of like, you know, as it relates to what I think a lot of people are going through right now, where their parents' worldview and have gone through for all of time, actually, but it just feels heightened right now, every generation. But it's just like, you know, I'm my mother's daughter, but we just disagree on so much because her worldview is her worldview and my worldview is my worldview. And I look forward to my daughter having a different, more evolved worldview in which, you know, she's like changing and progressing in ways that I can't even imagine. So I get emotional when and I've seen it a good billion times, when Idina and Camila sing to each other at the end, because that is the apology. And that's the idea of where you go, oh, the stepmother has finally understood that the Cinderella should have dreams and go for them. And that maybe it's not the end all for her as well. Like maybe she'll reconsider
that piano,
how she views
life,
the
piano,
or the world.
Following up on Shannon's question, Idina Menzel has a career or a history of kind of taking these evil characters and giving you a whole new perspective on how to see them. You know, Wicked with Elphaba and what have you. Was she collaborative in the process with you in crafting the stepmother character, or was the stepmother character already pretty much solidified the way you wanted to have it before Idina came onto the project?
Certainly any actor, once they come on, like they bring themselves to it, right? And so like there was many conversations that we had. It was scripted the way it was scripted, so it was already defined the way it was defined. But that's what made Idina so perfect for the role, is because she brought, like, she can do that, the dressing down and the disciplinary, and so great. And then she also has this amazing vulnerability within her that, like, where she really brings you in. And I also, like, she's just so amazingly famous for Frozen that it was like so nice to, on film, to see her as her.
Right.
You know, and so a big thing we had big conversations about, though, was the song, was Dream Girl, because she co-wrote that, and she said to me, she's like, I've never been seen this way before. I've never sang with this angry tone, undercurrent, but like this angst before, and that'll be something new. And it's always what I've wanted to be able to do. And, you know, the whole goal of that song was to show the bubbling, the undercurrent of anger and rage that a lot of women have, that don't get to come out when, you know, like when they're, you know, living in a more traditional society. And that we are experiencing in 2021 in big ways, even, you know, to this day. So that was like, that was something that she brought to the table, like that, like, I was so happy she was game for, and she really took it to that level that I love that song. And that's like a hard song for it might be, I mean, like, millions of people are liking it, but like for maybe like young kids to be like, why? Like so that song is more for like, you know, for like the moms, for the adults that have kind of gone through something, you know?
Yeah. Mike?
Well, speaking of going through something, so like I think something everybody can relate to is that we've all lived through the craziest year of our lives. And I think everybody has that moment of like, I remember where I was when the world shut down. You just happened to be directing a movie musical overseas. So like, can you talk a little bit about what it's like, all right, I'm writing and directing this fairy tale and making it happen. This is amazing. And then like the world just collapses.
Yeah. I mean, guys, so March 1st, we were in Blackpool shooting The Ball. So I had like 200 extras and the whole thing, right? It was huge, big thing. We spent a week in Blackpool. So I think it was like March 2nd to the 6th or something like that. And I kind of had my finger on the pulse of the pandemic, like where like nobody else was really talking about it. And I had like already been like, hi, you know, I wasn't like hugging anybody. And I don't have time to be on my phone. And we had tried to have this like no cell phone policy. So like, you know, Eben, my husband, was the writer on set, and he would have his phone. And at the end of every day of shooting, I would go to him and be like, that thing that's happening, it's going away, right? It's getting better. You know, like this, because it wasn't a pandemic yet. It was just like that thing that's happening in China. It's all good, right? We're all good. And he'd be like, oh, no. It's very bad. It's very bad. It's like, and I swear it was like the first week of March, I was like, it's getting better though now, right? Like they're kind of getting a handle on it. So it was scary. Like it was in the second week of March, like by that Wednesday, I was like calling the producers and saying, I don't understand why we're still going into work. Like I was really scared. I'll just be totally honest that like I was like I you know, take on the safety of the cast and crew very seriously, and then we shut down on the 13th, and like Camila and I gave speeches on that Friday. Like we didn't know we were shutting down. We were like, we're doing this, we're gonna keep going. And then of course that Saturday there was a travel ban, so then we ultimately ended up shutting down. And then it was like The Amazing Race, where it was like me and Camila were like packing up our family and all of our stuff and getting on a flight like at midnight at night, you know, and like coming back to the States. It was crazy. And at the time they were like, we're just going to take a 2-week hiatus. And we're like, yeah, this is going to be a lot longer than 2 weeks. And then I had 5 months, basically, almost 5 months to the day. And I put together what I'd shot, and I rewrote, and I saw what I needed, and like basically did like a second prep during that time. And then we came back. So we were like one of those rare, you know, production, like we're shooting like only had like 3 or 4 weeks in, got shut down, came back and finished. So like Jurassic World, I think was shooting, or like, I don't know, there was some, whatever the next Jurassic Park movie is. Yeah. And Batman was shooting with us, you know, like, and then it was uncharted territory. So it was like setting up protocols that like Sony was amazing. Our producers were amazing. We had what we called the Corona King, who was a producer that we hired that did all the like, the protocols and make sure that we were all safe and following everything. And man, I was like a warden. I was yelling at people. I was just like, that's not how you wear a mask. And like, I didn't care. I was checking like people's Instagram. I was making sure what they were doing over the weekend.
You were the female Tom Cruise? You were the female Tom Cruise driver?
Oh my gosh. No, Tom Cruise is the male.
Oh, the male Kate
But you did tell me, about like, so you guys didn't get to have like the wrap party on the last day of shooting, but you did like the big, like talk about that last day and what you told everybody to do. Cause I think it's like such a great, beautiful moment.
Yeah, so I want to say also we did not have one positive COVID test. Like we never had to shut down, awesome. And everybody else around us was shutting down, and no, nothing against those. I mean, it's very scary, and it's a very contagious virus. And there was no vaccines, but, at the time, but, so I felt really great about that. And we didn't have a wrap party, but on the last day that the dancers shot, we like had all the dancers. It was amazing. I was getting to see live performances at a time when there weren't any live performances, and it was every day. And all of us were so grateful to be like, I remember asking the crew, because in the UK, there is a delineation between TV and film. So the crew guys and ladies had not worked for the 5 months. So they were everyone was just so grateful to be there. And we were just having so much fun amidst all this stress and pressure. And so I give MVPs out every Friday at the end of every shoot week, and tell like a story and give them like their favorite like alcoholic beverage or something like that. I give them like a gift, and I announce it in front of the whole crew, and everybody applauds, and it's a whole thing, and it's really fun. And so on that day, we were in the town square, and I gave MVPs to all the dancers, because it was just amazing and so joyful to like watch them like do Let's Get Loud, and and then they wanted fun runs, like when they were just, like they weren't happy with something they did, and I was totally happy, and they were like fun. They were chanting fun run. So I had them. I had our playback guy play one song, a song I really love that I would listen to before coming in, Amarie's One Thing, and I was like, we can't have a rap party, but we can dance to this song. Or whatever, we can like have a good time. And so they played it. And when you tell a group of dancers who were all quarantined together, who like, like half of them were dating each other, and you tell them like, that they can't have a rap party, dance party, whatever, like it's insane. Like the dancing was incredible. And then when the song was over, they were like, one more time. And so basically we had this like amazing, I mean, I was crying, like all the cast was crying, and our Ashley Wallen and Jenny Griffin, our choreographers, were all bawling their eyes. I gave MVPs to them, and it was just, I'll never forget it. It was really beautiful.
That's awesome. Shannon, you have one last question?
Yeah, I mean, now that you've got Blockers under your belt, followed by Cinderella, you got comedy, you have musical, fantasy, period comedy. What is the next comedy we're going to get from Kingpin? Are we going to get the action comedy?
I do very much love an action comedy. So, you just never know what projects are going to get greenlit and which ones are going to go. I mean, it's just like even pre-pandemic, to make anything is amazing. To get anything done, is like incredible. So I don't know. I've got like a lot of TV stuff I'm excited about too. And so we'll see. And I'm also like dabbling in the drama space.
Yes.
Ooh.
Yeah.
Great
so
comedy.
We'll see.
Leads to great drama. All right. Well, I know we only have you for a limited time, so I'll ask one question, or maybe ask for one statement here. Okay, this is such a powerful film for young women, and things post Black Lives Matter, post Me Too. Not that we're out of that; that's not happening anymore. But so how the awakening, I guess you could call it. This film comes at such an interesting time, such a perfect time to serve as a symbol of kind of deconstructing all these approaches to society, the gender dynamics that we've had before. What do you want people to take away from a film like this, both young girls and young boys, who, because the Prince goes on his story, goes on his journey as well. What do you want young people, I guess, overall, regardless of gender, to take away from this film when they get a chance to see it?
Yeah, I mean, look, we made this for kids. Like we made this for and I like to say for kids and kids at heart, right? Like, I'm fully aware that musicals aren't everybody's cup of tea, and I'm also super aware of the choices that I made that are more in your face, cries for like equality and inclusivity, and I'm not backing down from that, nor would I ever want to. And so, first, I want people to laugh and to sing and to dance and to feel that joy. But really, I'm glad you brought up the gender thing, because what's exciting to me is to see young boys see a story in which they see a prince support someone he cares about, and to see a king change his mind and be influenced by his wife and really hear her, and or really listen to her, rather. I feel like some of the criticisms have been like, oh, we get it. You're like, we're, like it's too much. We get it. It's down our throat. But I think in this times, like we have to shout from the rooftops, and it's not for you, because if you're thinking we get it, and there's been no societal change, which there hasn't. In fact, we've taken in the last couple weeks massive steps backwards.
Great point.
That It's like, for me, like, I want you to, it always goes back to sing, laugh, and dance. But at the same time, if you leave there and there's like the impression that's left, especially from young boys and young girls, to not quit and to really accept and treat as equal, boy, girl, non-binary, whoever, just human beings, then that'll be worth all the fight and the criticism that this film has and the conversations that this film has elicited.
They always say, the first one through the wall is the bloodiest, and you can argue, some of the hits you've taken, as you spoke about just right now, in the end, may be badges of honor that you carry going forward for the changes that you've made. And as you said, if we're still walking backwards in the last 2 weeks, then clearly, no matter how much people say we get it, they aren't getting it if this is still happening in our world. So that's an excellent point. Any final words, Mike or Shannon, on this that you want to say before we wrap up?
It's just great having buddies who are so awesome, and we're glad that you're our buddy.
That's right.
I want your viewers to know that I thought this was audio only.
You look great.
So there's gonna be frozen pictures. I'm gonna try to like.
Trust me. Well, like Cinderella said, it only matters what you think.
Yes.
Well done. Well done.
Yes.
And you look great. So there you go. All right. Well, thank you, everybody, for joining us. And a big, big thank you to Kay Cannon for joining us for this.
No, thank you, guys. Thank you so much. Thank you.
We know you've you've been on the press tour for this, so we appreciate you taking the time. It means a lot. You're very busy. Go rest. Thank you so much.
I love you guys.
Love you.
All right. This has been our interview with Kay Cannon. Cinderella's out on Amazon Prime now. Watch this thing. Join the millions that are watching it and enjoying the music from it as well. And we'll talk to you next time with another brand new interview, show, or review here from the
Geek
Buddies.